Hey, folks, how are you? It's good to be with you again, and welcome to another stream of doodles and whatnot. Um, Hope you are doing well, and thanks for joining me. Um, Today, I want to maybe start to dive into sketch notes and doodling and doodling for not just fun but you know doodling can always be fun, but also to help us to learn and retain information and communicate information to others. And yeah, I'm hoping this will be a fun learning experience for all of us. Um, a couple of streams ago, I talked about the benefits of doodling and how it can help improve memory and help us to improve learning. And um, there's just lots and lots of things that go along with that. And yeah, I don't really have much of an agenda today, except maybe just to start with some of the basics and just see where it goes over the next hour or so. Um, Again, if you have any questions or want to see anything specific, or um, maybe I didn't cover something that you have questions about, either with the tools that I use or the concepts, feel free to send me a message in the chat, and hopefully I will be paying enough attention to see any messages that pop up. Um, I know it's been a tough couple of weeks, couple of months, and especially a tough week here in the U.S. Um, just me personally, it's been a real soul searching kind of uh, period of you know wanting to figure out what are some ways I can help uh, with the issues and things that we face as Americans, and that really touch the whole world, not just the U.S. And what it boils down to is the golden rule: love your neighbor as yourself. Do unto others as what you would have them do unto you. And I want to encourage you, as I usually try to do every time I give a talk or presentation or even one of these live streams, is um, I want you to care about the people that are around you, care about the people that you come in contact with. Um, one of the phrases I've heard recently is, you know someone's name. When you have a name connected with a person, it's they're no longer just somebody that you see on the news or whatever. Um, somebody that's over there that you, to create distance or whatever, or try to justify uh, thoughts or actions, regardless of a person's background or race or ethnicity or any number of categories. We're all human, and we all deserve love. We all deserve respect, and I want to make that clear and encourage you to help see the world in a bigger perspective. We all have our careers and things that we enjoy, and things that we're trying to get better at. And I believe one of our goals as any human is to make the world a better place. And that's part of my goal with this channel is to, in some small way, make the world a better place. Either to bring you some entertainment, or to bring you some knowledge, or help you to build a skill. I think long term, I hope this channel is more than just about drawing. It's other things that I'm interested in that I want to share, and in in that way, I want to, whatever it is that I'm talking about or sharing with you, it's my goal to encourage you to see the good and the the good that's within you, the potential that is within you. Encourage you to explore that creativity and potential, and to give you some encouragement and tools to to do some things that can turn into more than just a way to pass time, but to have fun, and the drawing for me has started out as a just something fun to do, but it quickly turned into more than that. It turned into something that I'm passionate about, something that I recognize has the ability to touch others, the ability to make others smile, the ability to make others think about things, the ability to help others to learn, and to it's an opportunity to connect with people in a very unique way. And I hope that as you are on your journey of learning and exploration, and looking at something like drawing and doodles and sketch notes and whatever it is that we may be talking about, that in some way that I'm helping you, empower you to do not only something that's fun, but can benefit others and be a have a positive impact on the world. All right. I see we got several people on the stream now. If you have any questions about things that I've done previously, or things that you would like to see today, please put those in the chat and let me know how you're doing. Let me know how. I hope are how are you struggling? Because I know it's been a tough time. I'm going to switch over to the my iPad now, and let's see. Looks like that's in frame. This is maybe I can bring the camera down a little bit closer. This is some stuff that I've done most recently. Sorry about the camera bouncing around. I should have got this set up a little bit better before I started. So last stream I did this quote by Martin Luther: "Only light can darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." And then I was on later last week. I was on a session for Microsoft's MVP program, and this dear woman, Nietzsche, who I've gotten to meet a couple of times now, and she is just full of energy and passion about sketch notes and visual storytelling, and she gave this great presentation for Microsoft MVPs on the benefits of visual storytelling, and some of the basics, and so forth. And um, she presented in 1 hour just a fire hose of information. It was really hard for me to keep up and create these sketch notes. But this is an example of one of the things that I want to explore through this channel is how you can be able to take sketch notes and start to learn to share these things with others to help you to learn, help you to retain information. Like one of the benefits I've talked about with sketch notes is not only is it a fun way to capture information, but there's something really special about um, the this connection that we have with drawing out notes that allow us to, make connections in our memory with that information, so that when we come back and look at notes sometime later, um, it's just amazing how much more information that we can recall, as opposed to just passively listening. And that's the key, right? Is that it's between being passive and engaged with the information that's being given. So when you're doing sketch notes or you're doodling during a talk or a session or something that you're watching online or even a meeting with your coworkers, when you're creating these visual notes, you are so much more focused with capturing keywords and information, and so you're much more engaged, and you're engaging more of your brain, and then later on, you're going to be able to recall so much more of that information. So Nietzsche, I love how she broke out these the different um, aspects of visual storytelling. Well, it wasn't so much about visual storytelling; it was about sketch notes, which leads to the ability for us to do more visual storytelling. Um, so she says that uh, teaching, whoops, these sketch notes, I keep drawing on the page instead of zooming in, that we're, it teaches us to express how very complex ideas using stories. And the thing that I have emphasized so many times, and that she emphasized in this talk, is that you don't need to be an artist. You don't have to be um, really good at drawing in order to be able to take notes and to be able to convey really um, complex ideas in a simple manner. And then, you know, so uh, poignant or timely is that whoever you are, whatever your background is, wherever you come from, whatever culture you're part of, your race, ethnicity, all those things, your perspective is what makes these things unique. The things that resonate with you and that you capture as part of the notes and visuals that you're drawing, and it doesn't have to be just sketch notes and these kinds of things. It could be whatever it is that you're doodling, whatever kind of drawing that you're creating. It's your perspective that makes it unique. Your personality is going to start to come out in the things that you draw and the art that you create. Um, when I first started drawing, I would look at other people's artwork or doodles and sketches, and I would look at that and I would think, wow, they they're they have such a unique style. You know, I wonder how they created that style. I I wish I could have a style like that or whatever. And the the interesting thing is, um, the more I just practiced, the more I created my own drawings, um, the more of my own personality started to come out in the things that I create. And so now I would say I have a style of my own that it's kind of like it's by accident. I didn't intentionally create this style. It's just uh, has become part of my unique way of expressing drawings. And a good place to start may be to mimic what other people are doing and try to decompose and create some of the same kinds of drawings. But I find that as we do this and gain more experience, that our drawings are going to start to take a life of their own, and more of our personality and our uniqueness will come out through our drawings. There's this great story of that I like to share with folks. Is one of my previous companies, is soon after I started drawing for the talks that I was giving, but I was encouraging folks that I worked with to do hand drawn illustrations, and several of us in the company were going to be giving talks at a local conference in Nashville, Tennessee, and several of these folks had never given a talk before, and I was not only helping to encourage them to get out of their comfort zone and do this thing, but to also you know take advantage of using hand drawn illustrations to express their ideas that would be more comfortable and all the other benefits that I've talked about. And there was a this this really sweet lady that I used to work with. Um, Her name's Twee, and the the talk that she came up with had these visuals that were these stick figures that were uh, like kung fu zombies, and I wish I could, I wish I could describe it to you, but it was just her. What came out was just so entertaining and so funny and so expressive. You know, they weren't they weren't the best drawn stick figures, but it was just so delightful that she took the time and she had the courage to create these visuals, and they were perfect. Man, they worked so well, and that's what I that's what I try to convince people or encourage people, is that it there's no such thing as bad art. Everything is visually interesting, and whatever it is that you create, it's going to be so much fun and amazing to look at and to work with. Okay, so Nietzsche talked about what are sketch notes. They're rapid capturers. They can be words and images. The main thing is to be authentic and to have fun. Why sketch notes? Um, Visual learning helps us with accuracy on recall. Even days and weeks later, it can give us the ability to recall so much more information. And there's some examples of the things that you can do with sketch notes. Is it goes beyond just like sketching a talk, but you can create visual reports of talks, like you're watching a talk, maybe a TED talk or a tech talk on YouTube. You can create your own report of that talk and share that with people. You can do visual reviews of books. You can create visual guides of tutorials. Like that's one of the things I've done. Is I have a video that I created for my company called an illustrated guide to OAuth and OpenID Connect. These are hard things to understand, hard or very complex technical uh, s- solutions for doing authorization and authentication on the internet. And yet, through the power of hand drawn illustrations, I was able to create some metaphors and things that help people to understand those very complex uh, concepts. So beyond the reasons, and you see how I color coded some of the reasons and the background for sketch notes in yellow. Um, the rest of the talk was centered around some of the uh, elements that you'll find as part of Sketchnotes. Being able to use different fonts, different layouts, creating a layout, a kind of a navigation scheme, uh, making sure you have quotes and big takeaways and highlights and so forth. Yeah, Sean, this Niche's talk uh, from Build was pretty much the same talk that I saw, and yeah, what practice drawing banners, right? Um, yeah, Nietzsche's, like I said to begin with, that she has such passion and energy and enthusiasm. You can't help but be inspired to go and do something, right? To go draw something just to see what you can do. Um, so maybe today, with the time that we have left, we can maybe talk about either one of these things or a couple of these things. I've got a whole series of like practices and things that I did on my website. I did a series of sketch things, daily sketch exercises on Twitter some time ago, and I took all those examples and I created a blog post out of them that that I put on my blog at reverentgeek.com. Sean says drawing is like learning guitar. Learn how others do it, and then you'll grow into your own. That's exactly what I was talking about. Is that when you're starting any new skill, whether it be music or art or a language or a programming skill in technology, learning a new application, you got to start somewhere. And so a lot of times we start by just copying what other people are doing. We mimic the things that we see, or we're following the steps that someone else is doing. And sooner or later, with practice, we're going to start taking ownership of that skill, where we're going to see opportunities to explore different things and other things and go in different directions. And soon it doesn't take long for a skill that we're trying to build becomes part of us, part of who we are. um, the the main thing is just to get over that fear of being of doing something and just start doing it. Start. Everyone has to start somewhere. um, the Looking back over the last 5 years that I've been drawing now, I it occurred to me a few years ago that wow, this is drawing is like any other skill. It's like learning a new programming language or a new application or something. Everybody starts at pretty much ground zero, and the people who are successful are the ones who allow themselves to make mistakes, to um, to forgive themselves and to continue to work at that skill until they get better and better. There is an element of natural ability, like natural talent, but natural talent will only get you so far. Um, the people who are the most successful are the ones who put in the effort and do the work. And you a great illustration, not drawing illustration, but a great illustration that someone gave me as a metaphor a couple of years ago was um, not everyone can be Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan is an elite um, sports professional that very few people ever attain that level of ability, and that's his is a combination of both natural ability and this drive to become the very best at what he does. And just the right combination of elements creates this incredible um, combination of of ability that only Michael Jordan could achieve. However, you can learn the skills and the things about basketball, um, or different facets of the game if that's what you want to do, and you can really enjoy it. You can sit on a couch and really enjoy basketball, um, and appreciate the things about it. The more that you learn about it, the more you understand the game. I'm not a basketball fan myself, but I get the idea. I get the idea that, and I hope you do too, that even though you may not be Michelangelo or Picasso or some other famous artist, that doesn't mean you can't create some fun things and enjoy it and be able to be very effective in communicating ideas and uh, do some things that make people smile, make people um, uh, help people to learn and help benefit others. Um, so maybe what I'll do first is I want to switch over to the browser here and go to my website, reverendgeek.com, and I have somewhere in here. Oh, here it is, the Sketchnote challenge. And hey, I'm you know this is cool. Sketchnotes are amazing. I try to be enthusiastic on things that I say and do. It doesn't come natural, but exclamations help make me sound more enthusiastic. So yeah, the Sketchnote challenge here, um, and I talk about some of the reasons why you might be interested in doing sketch notes, that I covered in other streams as well. But so I had this series of tweets, and you can click on this tweet here and see that history in Twitter. But these are the gist. Day one, I was talking about how you can draw light bulbs in different ways, because one of the fundamental things is when you're listening to a talk and you're doodling sketch notes, one of the most frequently used icons uh, is going to be a light bulb to express like an idea or a thought or something like that. So these I kind of started out with just focusing on maybe some types of icons that you can draw. And as a starting point for your drawing journey, you might just want to take these ideas and just copy them, and try to draw them yourself and see how they turn out. Again, as I said, um, the more you can start someplace like copying other people, and then at some point you're going to start to take ownership of that and be able to draw them in your own style and add your own embellishments and you know add your own personality and character to the things that you draw. So problem, warning, those kinds of things are very frequently used in drawing sketch notes. uh, Boxes, being able to draw frames and create um, uh, group things together. Um, those are all create. I think I do banners separately later on, but creative ways that you can draw frames around text. Now, one thing I'll say about this is that anytime you want to put a box around text, draw the text first and then draw the box around that text, because I can I can almost guarantee you every time, unless your box is huge to begin with, you're going to run out of space if you draw the box first and then try to draw uh, your words inside that box. So, quick tip there. Question icons, numbers, which are great for like showing steps and this is where you can start to express really complex ideas and processes when you're, able to label steps 1 through 5, or step A, step B, and how things might flow from step to step. Lists and bullet points. There's lots of ways you can get creative about drawing lists of things. Like people might have a list of things on a slide for a presentation that they're giving, and you can be creative and come up with your own sets of ways of representing the lists of ideas. Thoughts and speech bubbles. That's pretty fun to be able to, give these, cartoon-like thoughts and ideas. Maybe you draw on a stick figure, or a cartoon, just a face with, just a round circle with eyes and a mouth, and now you want to give that person a speech bubble or a thought bubble. Again, just like with the frames I was talking about earlier, you're going to want to draw the text out first, if there is text, and then draw the speech bubble or thought bubble around that. Arrows are important. All the ways that you can do lettering. Um, this to me is one of the most fun things you can do with Sketchnotes, is to be really creative with your lettering. Now, you may be thinking, just like me, well, my handwriting is terrible. And when I started, my handwriting was terrible too. I had to, it's one of those things where you have to discipline yourself to, you know, learn how to do these things better. I had to basically relearn how to draw some of my letters, because the way that I had learned from school was just, it was just very, uh, didn't translate well at all, especially to digital, when I was learning to draw with a stylus on an iPad. And then in general, um, there are lots of icons. So when you want to create sketch notes, it's good to start developing a visual vocabulary of common things that you might be encountering um, when you're uh, in whatever area of knowledge or expertise or interest that you have. So I'm in tech. I'm a software developer. A lot of the sessions that I go to are in technology. And so it's good for me to have a visual vocabulary of things that are tech related, like um, devices and websites and searches and the cloud. Um, and then there's some things that are just kind of universal, like we talked about before, the question marks and the warnings and the light bulbs and so forth. So being practicing and creating these visual icons helps to, you want to be able to draw something like this really quickly, and it just needs to be the bare minimum to express an idea, like this time icon. It's just a circle with a couple of lines, and it's recognizable as a clock. It doesn't take a whole lot to do that. One of the things I've done, or one of the things I have planned to do and never got really far with it, but I think it's still probably a really important, or a good way to start to learn um, icons, is to go to one of these icon libraries. Fontawesome.com is one such library that has, they literally have hundreds, if not thousands, of icons to represent all kinds of things that you might have in in technology or whatever. And one time before going to a conference, I printed out sheets of these icons from Font Awesome, and I just spent some time committing to memory just by practicing, looking at the icon that was on the piece of paper, and then trying to draw that on my iPad, and that helped me to create a little bit of a library of things, these icons that I could use to express ideas. Um, yeah, some things are just difficult to draw. Interprocess communications or IPC and struggling with abstract terms. Yeah, Sean, I get you. Um, one of the things that I think that helps with drawing something like a complex idea is to try to come up with a metaphor. What is, instead of drawing interprocess communications, what what is interprocess communications like? You know, what is something in the real world that acts and behaves like interprocess communication? Um, and that could be, um, just off the top of my head, that could be something like you go to a restaurant, there's someone at the counter who's taking your order, and you communicate to that person at the counter. They are your interface, and then they communicate back to the kitchen and other staff what to do to fulfill your order. And in that way, um, the communication that happens behind the counter that you don't hear and you don't see, that's kind of like interprocess communications. That's kind of like the internals of of this system, this application, if you will. And that could be a way, if you could draw that visually, you know, through very simple, um, you could use stick figures. You could say this is a person at the counter, this is the person behind the counter, and then there's this, you know, dividing wall between them and the kitchen, and the different ways that you can communicate. And so when you give a real world example, um, like like that, that is the key to making connections for people that they can start to understand concepts. It's a tried and true mechanism in learning where you're trying to map existing knowledge to something new. That mapping using metaphors and likeness and so forth is what's going to help people to really grasp what you're trying to say and what you're trying to communicate. All right, so icons and then stick figures. This is my bread and butter. Stick figures is I learned this when I was starting to do drawings for the talks that I give, and stick figures can can you can express so much with just a few lines. You can add a body to represent action. You can add hands and feet. You can um, use thought bubbles to show a person who is thinking. Stick figures are great because they're very abstract, and so it's easy for someone to kind of identify themselves as a person. Um, let me see if I can think of this a better way, that a person is it's kind of agnostic. It's not male or female. It's not a stick figure is not, it can represent any any person, right? Any person can identify with who that stick figure. Yeah. So, Sean, exactly. Sometimes we are a little bit too specific in what we're trying to draw, and it helps to take a step back and think of the bigger picture, and try to put yourself in other people's shoes to say what would be the best approach to expressing ideas that people are going to understand. And then there's faces. You can so many ways that you can make emotions and expressions through facial expressions, and these are basically um, these examples. There's a there's just like some basic sets of eyes and eyebrows and mouths that you can you can learn to express all kinds of emotions and reactions. This is when I first started with creating stick figures and trying to show facial expressions. I really struggled with, well, how do I do this? How do I express sadness, or someone who's bored, or someone who's upset, or whatever? And what I found was, if you just search for those expressions, you can see how other people have created those, have expressed those things, and you can start to again mimic what other people have done, copy what other people have done, and then it starts to become part of your vocabulary that you can use in your own style anytime you want to. There's a great book, and I think Nietzsche references this book in her talk on illustrations. Is that it's called "Steal Like an Artist," and you know that's what we all do. We don't just learn something brand new without any external influence. We learn from other people by observing what they do and maybe copying or mimicking um, their behavior and their approach to things, and until it becomes part of who we are. So artists have always looked at other artists to figure out, well, how do I do something like this? And you copy them, and then eventually you learn how to do it on your own. Day 13, draw a process, and then day 14, putting it all together and creating a kind of a finished sketch note. Um, all right, so I've done a whole lot of talking and going through a bunch of drawings and stuff instead of actually doing any drawing today. um, um, so what can we do in the remaining time that we have for this hour? Should we switch over here and let's just, I don't know, let's just draw something. Well, I know one of the things that I always, um, and I don't know if you can hear that. You can probably hear that, but there's someone mowing outside my window, so it may get loud at times. One of the things that I want people to do, or what I always try to tell people, is you don't need permission to be awesome. So I think what I'm going to do with the remaining time is is just to draw that. And I'm going to take a traditional approach to drawing, and is to start with a sketch to kind of lay out an idea. This is what so many artists do. Um, so I have this tool here that is basically like a mechanical pencil, and I'm just going to start putting down my words. And then I can take my sketch and I can use the tools that are provided. So I've got this cut tool where I can cut something and I can move things around. I can make them smaller or bigger. So I can take this and make it a little bit smaller, move this one up, center this whole thing on the page a little bit. Make this bigger. And then also make this one bigger. So that's the layout of, you know, the thing that I've got stickers that use this phrase. I've got slides on my talks that I give that use this. This is the like the final slide that I give at every talk that I give, where I encourage folks to get out there and be awesome. To take the things that they're learning and um, they don't need permission to do awesome things. So the traditional approach to drawing is that you start with a sketch, and if you're doing pencil and paper, you might have to erase and restart and start over. Start with one sketch and decide, well, that's not the approach that I want to take. So you just wad up that piece of paper and throw it away and start on a new piece of paper. That's one of the reasons I love digital tools. It allows me to, manipulate elements on the canvas so that I can get them positioned just the way that I want. Like if something's not level, like this is tilted a little bit, I can use two fingers to, kind of level it out some. That's really awesome and cool. All right. Like, going along with that traditional approach is now that I have the pencil sketch, I can then go back and draw on top of this um, what I want this to look like. So go back over with an ink pen. And if I don't do something right, I can undo it and do it again. And then maybe for permission, I could try doing some block letters, but I think maybe I'll do one big block letter for the P. And then just fill that in. Same with the A. Take my eraser and clean up the bottom. And now that I have my drawing on top of my pencil sketch, I can come to this pencil sketch layer and turn that off so that we just have the clean drawing. And then, I can play around with some embellishments. I can maybe add some color to this. I'll pick maybe a light orange. I'll use my fill tool. And I'll just draw some color behind, to emphasize you don't need permission. Green means go. So use permission to be awesome. That's basically it. I mean, this is how I do lettering and things for a lot of the slides that I put on in the talks that I give. I might come back with a pen, maybe on a separate layer, but I'll get back to the black. And I might just go over some of the letters and thicken up some of the lines, like is common to see in lettering, that anything that would normally be a downstroke becomes thicker than the upstrokes. So things that would normally go down and back up, you would thicken up the down stroke. And it just adds a little bit more character to letters. And well, that's actually an upstroke. But as you play around, experiment with things like different ways of lettering, different ways of going back over letters to make them more bold, then it becomes part of your vocabulary, your tool set, the tools that you have in your arsenal. So like Sketchnotes is you're rapidly capturing ideas and concepts. You're trying to draw those things out as quickly as you can to help keep up with whoever's talking. But people who do sketch notes rarely just leave it as those things are. They go back after the talk is finished and fill in details and add embellishments, add color, go back over some of the key words and make them more bold. Um, those, that's what turns a regular sketch or regular set of notes into more of a sketch note, more of a doodle. Adding icons after the fact, adding borders and boxes around groups of ideas. That's another thing that can turn just regular sketches or regular notes into more visual information. So all things that you can learn and get better at. It's going to give you some confidence with drawing. And most of all, I hope that I am the type of person that's encouraging you to be more awesome and, as in the famous words of Bill and Ted, to be excellent to each other, right? Um, any other thoughts or questions before we wrap this up and call it done? Because I think I'm ready for a hot caffeinated beverage and a snack. So, what do you think? Um, are you enjoying these sessions so far? Are you getting anything out of them? I'd love to hear your feedback and any comments or questions that you have. If you have any thoughts on what you would like to see me do in the future, what kind of ideas you'd like for me to cover, you know, of that 14-day sketchnote challenge that I went over from my blog. Um, are there is there something specific in that set of 14 days that you would love to see me dive into in more detail, or do we just keep doing these things off the cuff, flying by the seat of our pants? I, I, I live a lot of life flying by the seat of my pants, to use that metaphor. Um, Maybe you do too. We're all figuring this stuff out as we go, and that's what I want to encourage you. uh, yep, have good genes. Uh, that's what I'm hoping to encourage you, is that um, drawing is like any other skill that we can learn, and I believe that anyone can learn to do this. Um, don't allow the fear and uncertainty, and don't don't be comparing yourself to others, because I know I'm never going to draw like some of the other people that I see that I admire, um, and think, wow, the stuff that they create is just so amazing. I wish I could do that. Well, that's okay. I don't have to do that. I can maybe analyze what they've done, just like you as a pro. If you're a programmer or whatever your profession is, you might look at someone else and kind of analyze and decompose or break down, the specific things that they're doing, and say, well, how, if I were to do that same thing, how would I achieve it? And that's that's one of the many ways that we can learn. And as we start to kind of uncover the secret sauce or the magic, or you know we did demystify uh, that those incredible things, and start to learn, well, how are they composed, then again it becomes part of you, part of what your skill set and your vocabulary, and you can do unique and interesting things with that knowledge, that even someone who you think may be better than you at doing something, you can do it in a different way, in such a way that that person would look at your work and go, "Wow, I wish I could do that." That's the beauty of continuing to explore and to learn and to grow in whatever it is that we do. So, with that, I hope you have a blessed day. I hope you have a blessed week. I hope you stay safe, and that you love on people that that are around you, your friends and family, and also the people that you meet. Um, give people the benefit of the doubt and have empathy and compassion. And thank you, Sean, for engaging with me today. And all of you have an awesome week. And I will see you again soon.